Back to high school, Lucy's first day, broken seats and algebra humiliation. The transition from the bank's formal corridors to the fluorescent-lit hallways of a public high school is one of the most delicately calibrated shifts in the entire composite narrative. Lucy Carmichael's papers from the admissions office clutched in her hand is directed toward Mr. Willick's classroom with the simple instruction to give the documents to the teacher. The moment she crosses the threshold, the audience is invited into a world that is simultaneously familiar and alien to her. The classroom is already in session, the students seated, the air thick with the particular restlessness of adolescents who have not yet fully resigned themselves to another period of instruction. Lucille Ball's entrance is a study in controlled self-consciousness. She moves with the careful dignity of a woman determined not to appear ridiculous, yet every physical choice she makes announces her outsider status more eloquently than any line of dialogue could. Mr. Willick receives the papers with polite surprise. "You're going to be a student here?" he asks, the question carrying just enough incredulity to register without tipping into open mockery. Lucy's affirmative answer is quiet, almost apologetic. The teacher's response, "Just take a seat, Lucille," is the first of many small moments in which the adult world attempts to fold her into the institutional machinery of secondary education. She selects a desk near the front only to discover, with the inevitable physical comedy that defines Ball's art, that the seat is broken. The collapse is not spectacular, it is modest, almost domestic in its scale. Lucy finds herself suddenly lower than she expected, the chair having given way beneath her. Mr. Willick's apology, "I should have told you that seat is broken," arrives too late, of course, and Lucy's reply, "I found it out for myself," is delivered with the dry understatement that Ball perfected across 3 decades of television. The line is small, yet it contains volumes: the quiet resilience, the refusal to make a scene, the acceptance that her return to school will be punctuated by such minor humiliations. She is directed to find another seat. In the process of relocating, she collides with the ordinary traffic of a high school classroom. Books are dropped. A young man named Johnny Harris kneels to gather them. The brief exchange that follows is a master class in the series' ability to generate warmth without sentimentality. Johnny introduces himself. Lucy responds with her full name, Lucy Carmichael. The boy's friendly "Hi, I'm nice" is left deliberately ambiguous. Whether he is describing himself or simply extending a greeting remains unresolved, and the ambiguity itself becomes part of the comedy. Mr. Willick, ever the guardian of classroom order, interrupts with formal irritation, "I beg your pardon, but may I inquire as to exactly what is transpiring back there?" Lucy's explanation is polite, hurried and slightly flustered. She promises to find another seat at once. The teacher's dry "I wish you would" seals the moment. The audience is already laughing, yet the laughter is affectionate. We are watching a woman of a certain age attempting to navigate an environment designed for bodies and temperaments half her age. The lesson itself is algebra. Mr. Willick directs the class to the chapter on equations and places a problem on the board: if x equals 3 plus the square root of 7, and this must be a root of the equation x squared plus bx plus c equals 0, what are the values of b and c? The problem is deliberately opaque to the casual viewer, and that opacity is part of the joke. Lucy, determined to participate, raises her hand. When called upon, the teacher misreads her name in a small but telling slip. She admits she does not know the answer. The follow-up question is inevitable: why then did she raise her hand? Lucy's explanation is pure Ball, "It wasn't for that." The line is delivered with perfect timing, the slight pause before the confession allowing the audience to anticipate the absurdity. Mr. Willick's response is measured, almost weary. The protocol of hand-raising has not changed since Lucy was a girl. She is excused. The moment is small, yet it crystallizes the central tension of the sequence. Lucy is willing, even eager to engage. The institutional machinery of the classroom, however, is calibrated to a different rhythm of attention and competence. Outside the formal lesson, the script expands its focus to the social ecosystem of the high school. In the hallway or the common area, 2 students, Alan and Steve, discuss the morning's events. Steve reports that some kooky red-headed dame appeared in math class and that she was astonishingly middle-aged. The estimate of her age, "I bet she was almost 30, is delivered with the casual cruelty of adolescence, and the laughter that follows is both genuine and slightly uncomfortable. The audience is positioned to feel the sting of the remark even as it recognizes the comic exaggeration. Lucy, overhearing or simply encountering the boys later, becomes the object of a running commentary that measures her against the unspoken norms of teenage life. She is too old, too earnest, too visibly determined. The script does not soften these observations, it allows them to stand, trusting Lucille Ball's performance to transform potential mockery into something more complex and ultimately sympathetic. The first day sequence is careful to interweave physical comedy with quieter character work. The broken seat, the dropped books, the raised hand that leads nowhere, these are classic Ball set pieces, yet they are never allowed to become mere routines. Each gag is anchored in Lucy's specific situation, a working woman forced by institutional policy to return to an environment she left decades earlier. The algebra problem is not simply an occasion for a joke about mathematical ignorance. It is a reminder of the intellectual distance that has opened between Lucy and the formal curriculum. Her memory of high school protocols is intact. "Has this changed since I was a kid?" Yet the content of the lessons has moved beyond her immediate grasp. The comedy arises from the collision of these two facts. Culturally, the sequence speaks directly to the educational anxieties of the late 1960s. High school completion was increasingly treated as a baseline credential for white-collar employment. Adult education programs were expanding, yet the image of a middle-aged woman sitting among teenagers still carried a charge of social awkwardness. The script navigates this terrain with remarkable sensitivity. It never condescends to Lucy's ambition. Nor does it romanticize the high school environment. The students are neither idealized nor demonized. They are simply young people navigating their own hierarchies of coolness and competence. Steve's casual ageism, Johnny's casual kindness, Mr. Willick's institutional impatience, all are rendered with the same observational clarity that the series brought to bank offices and living rooms. Lucille Ball's physical performance in these scenes rewards the closest attention. The way she lowers herself into the broken chair, the slight adjustment of her posture once she realizes the seat has failed, the careful gathering of her books after the collision with Johnny, the tentative raising of her hand during the built algebra problem, each gesture is calibrated to reveal character, rather than simply to generate laughter. Ball understood that the body could narrate interior states more eloquently than dialogue. Lucy's determination is visible in the set of her shoulders, her self-consciousness appears in the slightly exaggerated care with which she moves among the desks. Her residual dignity is preserved even when the environment seems determined to strip it away. The sequence also deepens our understanding of Mr. Mooney's earlier ultimatum. The threat of unemployment was real, yet the comedy of the classroom scenes softens the edge of that threat without dissolving it. Lucy is not merely complying with a bureaucratic requirement. She is attempting, however awkwardly, to reclaim a piece of unfinished personal history. The measles that interrupted her senior year, the decision that it was too late to return, these details, introduced in the previous movement, now acquire new weight. Every awkward interaction, every minor humiliation is measured against the knowledge that she is here because she refused to accept the finality of that earlier choice. By the time the algebra lesson ends and Lucy is once again navigating the hallway, the audience has been fully inducted into the logic of the episode. The high school is not a nostalgic playground, it is a functioning institution with its own rules, its own hierarchies, and its own capacity to generate both kindness and casual cruelty. Lucy's presence within it is inherently comic, yet the comedy never collapses into pure farce. There is always the undercurrent of genuine stakes, the diploma, the job, the quiet insistence that education remains possible at any age. The broken seat, the misread name, the unanswered algebra problem, these are the opening notes of a larger composition that will eventually include anatomy lessons, itching powder, Shakespearean soliloquies, and an honorary valedictorian address. For now, however, the focus remains tightly on the first day, the physical negotiations of an unfamiliar space, the social negotiations of an unfamiliar peer group, and the intellectual negotiations of a curriculum that has continued without her. In the broader context of the Lucy show's late seasons, this sequence stands as one of the purest expressions of the series' enduring faith in the comic potential of ordinary aspiration. Lucy wants to keep her job, She is willing to sit in a broken chair, to drop her books, to raise her hand without knowing the answer if that is what the situation requires. The writing trusts the audience to recognize both the absurdity and the quiet courage of that willingness. Lucille Ball, as always, makes the recognition effortless. Her performance invites us to laugh, yet it never asks us to laugh at the expense of Lucy's dignity. The result is a first-day sequence that feels at once timeless and precisely of its moment, a moment when American television was still capable of treating middle-class striving with affection, precision, and an unshakable belief that the next classroom, however uncomfortable, might yet contain the possibility of renewal. The final images of this movement linger on Lucy moving through the high school corridor, books in her arms, expression composed yet slightly guarded. The algebra problem remains unsolved. The broken seat has been left behind, the diploma is still a distant prospect. Yet something essential has been established. Lucy Carmichael is once again a student, and the comic machinery of The Lucy Show has found in the fluorescent light of a public classroom a new and richly productive arena for its particular brand of resilient, physical, deeply human comedy.